In exactly 20 days, my Minecraft world will go from looking like this to this. Why is this happening? Well, just recently, the same ultraviolet rays that you used to get your tan became unstable. This means that it will take the sun about 20 days to transform, with the effects of its transformation worsening every day until a great majority of the overworld is rendered completely uninhabitable. So the sun is pretty much after the entire overworld. I'm not just going to survive, that'd be too easy. No. I'm going to preserve every natural resource this world offers just to rub it in the sun's face that it will never be able to fully defeat the overworld as long as we've got our star player. Myself. Alright, planning time. The sun is after pretty much everything that lives in one way or another. Mobs, plants, and even some inanimate objects. The only way to protect these and make sure that the sun will never be able to get to them is by making a safe house under Y0 and placing one sample of everything the sun wants dead inside. That includes, but is not limited to, saplings, crops, grass, podzol, and even some friendly mobs. There is just one problem though. There is no way in hell that I can obtain all of this in under 20 days without an elytra. So step 1 has just shifted from save the world to beat the game. Day 0 was simply about getting the absolute bare minimum I would need to hit the nether. On day 3, I was already in front of the end portal, contemplating just how I'd win a fight against a star that just decided to go crazy one day. On day 4, I found myself in End City, thankfully containing a ship with an elytra. I knew my luck was up, so I made my way back to the overworld in time for day 5, where I got started on making 2 very important villagers. But before we get into that, you know what's worse than having a crazy star dry your whole world up? Looking at you, yes you, watching the video this far in and still not being subscribed. I put my heart and soul into making these videos for you, and as much as I do it for fun, I've got to admit that the monkey brain does indeed like to see a bigger number. So if you'd be a good boy and press that one button us YouTubers seem to stroke our meat to, that would go very much appreciated. While you're down there, you'd also be a very good boy if you join my Discord server down below so you don't miss any future videos. Shameless self-promotion over, now back to your video. You see, in order to preserve the overworld to the best of my abilities, I need many resources from many different biomes all across the overworld. Sure, an elytra makes this easier, but when it breaks, it's nearly useless, requiring materials that I can't easily farm. This is why I need 2 villagers, one for unbreaking 3 and one for mending. With that plan in mind, I got to work getting everything I'd need for these villagers. Day 6 brought forth my long-awaited mending villager, so I got to work making an infinite source of emeralds, a tripwire hook duper, which I'd use to sell infinite tripwires to a Fletcher to get the emeralds I so desperately now need. Day 7 had my duper perfectly functional, so I got to work on upgrading a Fletcher to max status, after which I'd faced my first problem. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't for the life of me get unbreaking 3. It got to the point where I broke several axes and was nearing the halfway point of the challenge. I ended up taking unbreaking 2 and getting on my way. Already behind schedule and scared I wouldn't have nearly enough time to complete the challenge. Now, while you watch this idiot fly in the background waiting for his 4-threaded CPU to catch up with chunk loading, allow me to explain just what we're doing. We're going around the overworld gathering everything that makes it, well, the overworld, and putting it snugly inside my shulker box. This might sound easy, but it's far from that. For starters, we've got to find biomes that occupy 0.5, 0.2, and 0.02% of the overworld respectively. All that under 20 days, because remember, after 20 days, these things either burn or melt. With that out of the way, allow me to show you how this played out. My routine was to fly around during the day looking for anything I hadn't yet picked up and kill mobs during the night, replenishing both firework rockets using my looting sword and the elytra's durability using XP. This worked well for the basic trees and even the rare mangrove wood, but I ran into a problem. One type of tree that I could not find if my life depended on it. The tree that was giving me trouble was the pale oak. With my render distance set to 12 on a good day and my chunk loading speeds rivaling the sloth from Zootopia, I could only explore a limited portion of the overworld at a time. My search wasn't even based on searching. It was based on which biomes I think a dark oak forest might spawn next to, and then hoping to the heavens above that it had a pale garden, which, mind you, occupies about 0.02% of the overworld. Not here. Nope. I even found a woodland mansion with no map before a pale garden. If nothing I've just said shows you how rare this is, maybe finding a structure with a 0.016% spawn rate will. But alas, you might be viewing this as the part where I should be celebrating, but I beg to differ. You see, I'm closer than ever to day 20 and I don't even have everything I need. On top of that, I'm about 5,000 blocks away from home, and I'll have to get there as quickly as possible if I ever want to prove to this sun that it can never overpower the entire overworld. Returning home felt not right. I took far too long gathering everything I needed and had next to no time before day 20. Sure, I'd have enough to get all the basics in an underground bunker, but that wasn't the issue. I'd started to question the very nature of the challenge. Just what the hell was I fighting for? Spend the rest of my days in a bunker, undermining whatever little piece of actual Minecraft was left in this world? No one can tell you what you can and cannot do. Yeah, right. But before I could rethink my choices, another matter came to my mind. My village didn't have enough villagers for what I needed. It turns out that while you worry about how bored you're going to be in the future, the world still goes on and kills villagers, leaving only one what I needed two. With only a little bit of time left, I had to give finding a villager my all. After all, this is the only chance their race will have at survival. I gathered my things and got ready to bend over backwards once again in the name of the overworld, going to a nearby snowy village to get a villager. And since boats are now able to be picked up with leads, I should have no problem flying this villager to my... What? You can't... What do I do now? So it turns out that you indeed cannot fly boats with an elytra. This is where the problem sets in. Right now we are over here, and we have to make our way all the way over here. It might not seem like a big distance like this until you see that it's about 400 blocks with no water access in between. There's no way I can dig a tunnel all the way through there before the sun goes crazy, so I'd have to find something else. That's when I found this village over here. At first glance, you might think, that's crazy. If 400 blocks is too much, just how do you think you're going to dig over 2,000? Well, what if I told you that I didn't have to? This village just so happens to be partially in a swamp. That swamp connects to a cold ocean, which connects all the way back to the frozen ocean that connects to a frozen river, then connecting to where? What do you know, it's right at the village I needed to be. Now don't you go thinking I'm set. We're still on a massive time crunch and need absolutely everything to go our way if we want a chance at preserving the overworld forever. That was close. Thinking about the worth of the challenge nearly cost the overworld every villager it had to offer. Gathering all the animals I'd need, I told myself that I could never think that way again. At least not until my job here is complete. Building the bunker, I'll be honest with you, it was quite boring. Breaking iron pickaxe after iron pickaxe was exhausting, not to even mention the mental drain I'd felt. But after some time, I noticed that day 20 was right about here. I might be planning to hide in a bunker for the rest of my days, but I am not missing the final chance I'll get to look at the overworld before it all goes to waste. Even though it was nighttime with mobs everywhere, I didn't seem to care. The scene felt almost peaceful in a way. What you'd find the scariest things alive as a child on your first playthrough, and that was the final comfort you have. And as the sun rose above the horizon, I made my final descent into the bunker. I would never see the overworld look this good again. The first room I decided to build is one to pay respect to all the different types of wood that the overworld has to offer. Or, well, used to have to offer. This is where thinking of clever ways of duping made itself useful. For this room I'd need much more dirt than I initially had, but if I combine 2 dirt with 2 gravel, I get coarse dirt. Placing said coarse dirt, turning it into a path block with a shovel and digging it would give me plain old dirt. But twice the amount I started with. I could then rinse and repeat, periodically heading into the nether to replenish my gravel supply. Making steady progress on the tree room helps distract from how truly miserable this task is. As much as it is essentially building my own prison, at least I get to decorate it with pretty trees. Yay, go me. My days essentially consist of placing and breaking blocks, and when I'm not doing either of that, well then I'm looking for more blocks to break in place. I'm not going to lie, doing that and only that is really chipping away at my mental. The villagers had helped me get this far, the least I can do is make them their own little room. What they love most is farming, so I suppose I'll grant them that. And as if nothing can go right for me, halfway through the process I tried to check up on my mobs and found that some were just missing. My mind immediately went to think of the worst possible scenario. Maybe I accidentally left the front hatch open and they got fried by the sun. Maybe some mobs spawned in a dark area and killed them. But before I could get too caught up in my mind, I went into the nether only to find them right there in front of my portal. Reviewing the footage later showed that in my carelessness I left the portal door open and they walked straight in. This could have been bad. If any of these are lost, their species is lost for good. No more of that mob will ever live if any of these 2 dies. For that reason, I hurried to finish the villager farm so I could give these animals a semi-fair place to live. Working on the animal room, I'm not going to lie, it was rough. The drain of breaking so many pickaxes and mining so much deep slate was seriously getting to me. So much so that I couldn't even finish the animal farm. I was sick to death of the only other place I see besides this bunker being literal hell. I needed to see the outside badly, no matter how ruined it must look out there. I gathered whatever scraps I had lying around in my chest to put together 2 measly fire resistance potions and headed outside, hoping that I'd find something, anything, to lift my spirits.
Ouch. Oh no. Wait, what? Wait. You're joking. You're actually joking. So I spent all that time, like, getting fucking a villager from where even? From all the way over here when there were 2 villagers right in here. You gotta be kidding me, man. You actually gotta be kidding me. What even is all this? There is some grass that survived because it wasn't exposed. Let's see what this looks like. Oh no. There's nothing I can do, but still. Oh no. God damn. Look at how much the water levels have dropped. Holy. Water used to be like all the way to up here, I think. Jesus Christ, there's not much of it left now that I think about it. Wow. I didn't think it would be that bad.
As frustrating as it was seeing 2 villagers clearly intact while I thought I had to cross 2,000 blocks to get just one, it did bring a small smile to my face. Seeing that at least something was alive, even though they wouldn't be soon, felt nice. Now that the animals had a safe place to live, I could finally take it all in. The bunker I'd constructed all by myself, one that would keep the final remnants of the overworld alive until the end of time. It should have felt magical. It should have been all worth it. The feeling of accomplishment should have set in already. But it hadn't. All I feel is a sense of trepidation that I'll never see a real biome again. I'll never get to run through a plains biome, I'll never swim through an ocean, I'll never see a blue sky ever again. And frankly, the overworld doesn't need me anymore. I've done my part. The overworld will survive now, no matter what happens. It's only a matter of setting myself free. So grabbing my final fire resistance potion, I take one last chance to run through the overworld before the effect runs out, and I set myself free from the chains of this corrupted world.